These are two teams on polar opposite ends of the leaderboard right now, and I want to see INTZ claw and fight and scrap. I don't want to be seeing a 7-0 here.
Well, we'll have to see what mood Cyber woke up in today, because for all of his performance yesterday, he has had a couple of quiet weeks as well. And that's not saying that he's very inconsistent, but it does seem to be almost hero or zero sort of stuff coming out for him if the ratings are to be believed. So that could kind of weigh in as well. But as we've already mentioned, there's just a lot of depth on this FaZe Clan roster that someone else will be there to pick up those or that mantle, should I say. I think Souls in particular had a quiet day yesterday where historically we've seen him perform quite well indeed. And if we do start to see a bit more plant focus coming out here from INTZ, he's likely going to be in and amongst that action on that hard support.
FaZe Clan will be starting off on the defense, and they're going to head down into the basement. Ooh, please stay on the Tachanka. I really want, like, part of me is like, is this just BM? Are FaZe just not expecting to have to put up much of a serious fight against INTZ because they are still sitting with 0 points? They haven't achieved any points so far. Or is this some spicy strat that they don't have the balls to use against a team like Liquid or like MIBR that now they see the opportunity? Regardless, it's not every day that we get to see a Tachanka be played, so I'm excited for it, whatever it is.
I'm kind of hoping for the Valhalla, you know, into spawn, where you just sort of unleash hell with the launcher right into wherever the players are spawning. Just sort of take a guess and go for a bit of an unleash. It looks as though, and I might be reading a lot into this because we've only seen a few seconds, but with Cyber where he is inside of that dirt tunnel, could he be maybe trying to play dirt tunnel as like a sort of new smoke sort of style for smoking off that dirt tunnel if a push comes through that way? I mean, it's going to be very powerful wherever he chooses to play, surely due to the area denial. It's essentially like having another smoke on your side.
Yeah, I was wondering something similar. But, I don't know. One thing that I will say is, straight away, I'm not too expecting that INTZ are going to be able to get the kitchen hatch open. I highly doubt that they would use a Maverick there because it's just too risky. But even if you're trying to open up with the exothermic charge, they are carrying impacts. And impacts will have an impact, funnily enough, onto an exothermic charge. Hibana's been banned out. You only get 2 opportunities to do that. So I think anything to do with the kitchen's going to struggle, but Cyber's going to struggle too. And I'm kind of sad we won't get to see the Tachanka, at least not for this round, because he's just been brought straight down.
Is it a Cyber yay or a Cyber nay day? It might turn out to be a Cyber nay day there as he gets taken out first blood. Obviously, the Tachanka, there's an argument as to how much utility you actually do lose. Of course, you lose a gun and you lose some capability, but Drunk's going for a swing onto Cameraman. INTZ have come out swinging here in round number 1.
And this was the player I said we need to look out for from INTZ. He has been one of their most impactful players across the course of the season so far. Bullet's going to get his revenge, though, as Drunks is taken straight down. He just wants to defend his teammate, his boy Cyber. Remember, actually, Bullet and Cyber both played on Immortals together back in Pro League Season 9. So they are old comrades in arms. So no surprise that he wants to avenge him.
Astro going to be playing on the box as everything has been reinforced and castle barricaded off toward blue, at least from the Arsenal side. There's a chance that it's going to be quite difficult here for INTZ to push on in. Miranda just getting called for potentially a nade throw, or maybe even just to destroy that castle barricade, as there is a hole in the top of the reinforcement. Brilliant, perfectly placed for a nade. That nade is going to get tossed on through and will net a kill over onto Astro. INTZ moving quite quickly here as well, as they have got over 30 seconds left to try and make this execute happen. They are 4 versus 2, but the Toxic Babes come out now from Souls. I spoke about how important he could be, and he gets taken down. Miranda comes in with the final kill, and INTZ, they get the first round on attack here on Clubhouse.
Yeah, let's go, INTZ. Anything that FaZe might have come in thinking or underestimating about this team, probably to be thrown out the window right now. Now, I'd imagine we've just got to wait to see if Cyber's actually going to join the lobby again. So that gives us some time to talk about that round. You know, the fact that they were pretty good at... Well, I don't even know if they really needed much mid-round adaptation, because their endeavors and their objectives in the early to mid-round went quite well in their favor. And what I'm specifically talking about there is getting those 2 early kills. You know, though the Castle and the Chanka, those were the players who were playing upstairs. They'd in fact opened up the hatch, so they specifically had that fast rotate back down. But INTZ just took them out straight away, meaning that they didn't get the opportunity to provide any value to FaZe Clan while they were up there. You couldn't even really argue that they wasted much time of INTZ while they were up there, because INTZ was so clean in securing those kills. It gave them so much more space to work with, and as they moved down blue and opened up the church wall from the other side, the blue wall or whatever you would like to call it, it just meant there was so much pressure on FaZe. And I think as well, when you look at specifically the nade kill that came in from Miranda, because of course she got another kill at the end too, that's a point where you wonder, well, hey, you brought a Wamai, where are the magnets? How could you have a nade land on you like that? So INTZ really finding some sneaky, cheeky and cocky ways of winning out in that round. And I think FaZe may be a bit humbled from that.
I mean, the cockiness wasn't one-sided, was it, Gio? Because FaZe showed that level of cockiness with their initial setup. They had 5 reinforcements in that blue area, 2 on the wall leading into Arsenal, and then 3 on the wall leading into Church. That's half of your reinforcements on that blue area for a Church and Arsenal defense. There's 3 hatches. There's 2 panels on dirt. Even if you get all of that, that's it for your reinforcements. Like, it seemed like such a strange use of them. And INTZ just read into that perfectly and were able to move on through and get the kills. FaZe, I think they drastically underestimated INTZ in that round. And the thing that I really enjoy seeing in teams, it's a thing that I love to see, Gio, you can write this on your little list, is where teams that are the underdogs, or not the favourites, actually go in and take it deadly seriously and try and get round. INTZ going up against FaZe here, it'd be so easy for them to come in and just be like, we're going to get rolled, like what's the point in even trying? They've come in with the right mentality and that perfect attitude to say, we're going to give this everything we've got. And they came in and took round number 1.
This is how I know I would be a really bad pro, other than the fact that I'm really bad at playing the game, is that I know I would find it really easy to be intimidated by that. And so, going off of your point that you're making, it's so nice to see them kind of throw any semblance of intimidation out of the window and be like, no, it's just another team. We're in the same league as them. We have just as much right to be here as them. And yeah, maybe we're missing our top player, and maybe we're at a statistical disadvantage, but who cares? We know how to play the game just as much as they do. It's so nice to see. I love it. And I said I didn't want a 7-0. We're guaranteed to not have it. Well, we're guaranteed to not...
Oh, careful, Joe.
We're guaranteed to not have a 7-0 from FaZe Clan side.
The FaZe Clan
But we could have a 7-0 from INTZ's side. Now, that would be a real wild outcome.
We'd be needing some of those train derailers that Tim was talking about. Maybe INTZ have invested in a few of those. I googled it, by the way. You know what it's called?
Is it a thing? What is it?
It's called a wedge.
Is that it?
It's not called a train derailleur. There's no fancy name. There's no engineer technical term. It's called a wedge.
Like cheese.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense as well. There's a little video, and yeah, it works exactly as you would imagine. So next time he tries to baffle us with something like that, we're going to take a minute just to fact check that sort of stuff, you know?
Yeah, I think he tries to sound really intelligent sometimes because he's older than us and he wants us to think he's wise, but we've got you. We can see through you. Now, FaZe Clan set up for a defense once again on the basement, and does actually may find himself in an altercation very soon. Astro's going to rotate back down though. One thing I did want to mention, however, is we did see Cyber up on the top floor. Now, he opened up some hatches. Cameraman will actually get the first kill. That's onto Hornetau, who's been playing that entry role as well, and Vit's taking a ton of damage. He's your Heartbreacher and carrying the diffuser, and that wouldn't be so great for INTZ.
Is it a Cyber Nade?
It feels like it, isn't it?
Feels like it. He's been taken out again here. The guy was on fire, so we can't over-egg enough how on fire that man was. And he's been taken out here yet again as the first blood for FaZe. Not first blood in the match as a whole, but still the first death on the side of the defense. Cameraman isn't sitting too healthily, and for that reason will only be sort of gently challenging onto angles. Seems as though INTZ know exactly where he is now as well as he goes for a swing, but INTZ playing perfectly patiently, knowing that they had a triple pinch onto him there, and Drunk says, I'll take that one, thank you very much.
Once again, INTZ just being very concise with the way that they're clearing out these upstairs players. I was talking about Cyber opening up the hatches upstairs so that he had the rotates available to him while making the roam. Cameraman was also up on the top floor, and INTZ are wasting no time in ensuring those players get taken straight down. Now they're just pushing down blue once again. That's the diffuser that's out cold, but Astro will be out cold himself as Drunk secures his third kill. INTZ looking pretty good so far as they're in a 4 versus 2.
What can they do now, though, as Souls is going to be unleashing hell with the SMG-11, but he hasn't got a great deal of ammo, so Bullet's going to have to take a swing as well. Look at these gunfights coming on out. 1 second on the clock. No diffuser in the hands of Miranda. A close round, but a round that will always go to FaZe.
I mean, really, they just had a lot of security and protection in the positions that they were playing there in Armory, but I think this is also where we see the flaws in the way that INTZ actually pushed down. Both of those rounds, INTZ went for a push down the blue stairs, which worked for them back in round number 1. But when you have players that are fighting back in the same way that FaZe were in that last round that we just saw, it would really help to have pressure coming down from, for example, the main stairs or even kitchen above, which we've spoken about already, about how kitchen control is going to be very difficult for this team because of the lack of the Hibana. They also are at a risk if they decide to invest in opening it up with something like a sledge, but that's not an operator that INTZ have been bringing anyway. So the option for the vertical control there wasn't really present for INTZ in those last 2 rounds, but hypothetically, it is another option that they could have considered to help facilitate that push into Armory and clear out those last couple of players from FaZe Clan. Regardless, that's not going to be something that they'll worry about or have to worry about this time round, because they'll be attacking onto CCTV and Cash instead.
Let's see what INTZ are able to conjure here. Looks as though construction wall has been left soft for the meantime. Not sure if that's intentional from FaZe. We can still hear shotguns blasting in the distance, so maybe, just maybe, we're going to see that typical line shot out of the construction wall, the wall that looks in from Cash through to construction, as it makes taking control of construction a very difficult endeavour if that has been shot out and then an angle is being held. Drunks this time has opted for a Capital, conscious that there could be a bandit trick on the cards, as Astro has picked bandit here. That's a nice little counter play. Avoids having to go underneath, and you can make it so that the bandit isn't feeling comfortable to sit there and try and replace the batteries. But you do have to get a little bit of control to be able to do that. So far we're seeing some Maverick work being done here, just trying to search out the batteries or the new jammers. It can actually be Vitz that's trying to get that wall open. I'd much rather see this get opened fully with the Maverick and then actually use the thermites maybe elsewhere.
Yeah, for example, maybe the construction wall would be a good place. You could do that. Astro is directly behind the wall, so it looks like he's still going for the bandit trick. So far, not seen the Capital being used to try and flush that out. There are a couple of places you can use the Capital. You can use it to try and flush out the bandit and prevent the bandit tricks, but also very useful for clearing the garage rafters as well. Instead, right now, FaZe Clan are just going to take a sit back as the breach is opened up, but I would say that that's a decent amount of time that's been eaten up in the round before INTZ could successfully get the CCTV wall open anyway.
Yeah, it's certainly slow, really, to be opening that wall and it taking you nearly 2 minutes to do so, because getting the wall open isn't really your main point of ingress. Sure, one person might go through, maybe two, but it's more about the crossfires that you're able to get from there, and then the pressure that you're able to apply elsewhere. But with Souls still being on these rafters, we can hear things going on around him as the wall underneath of him is going to get open, but he's not really seeing any direct pressure, and he's still got a ton of ADSs that are going to allow him to stay alive here. That flashbang is going to miss as well, meaning that they're both fully charged. Capital's firebolt does come up, however, as he's getting pinched from multiple sides. A lot of focus there from INTZ and a really good, clean kill. But with 30 seconds left, what are they going to be able to do with the time? Now the breach is getting smoked off by the Toxic Babe canisters. Astro take a seat as Duds is able to find a really nice kill there through. Now another Toxic Babe canister is going to come out from Cameraman. He doesn't have any left, or he maybe actually has one. Still, the plant is going to have to go down. Oh, I don't like the look of this. Everyone on the side of INTZ is inside of the bomb site. Miranda finds somewhere to plant that diffuser. Kills start to come on in. Cyber, go massive or go home. It's a Cyber nade as Duds takes him out. INTZ were confirming that plan. It looked messy. It didn't look pretty, but INTZ, they took the round.
INTZ are looking like a team not to be reckoned with right now, and let me tell you, I love it. Even though they took quite a while to get that server wall open, it was the way that they gained the control over Garage that was really important. As you mentioned, the server wall isn't really the main point of ingress that you use. In fact, in a lot of cases, it's purely used to hold crossfires and prevent defenders from rotating within the site. Now, they could clear out Souls from the garage rafters pretty quickly, not only by using the Capcan Firebolts, yeah, can you imagine? Not only by using the Capital Firebolts, but also by just having a number of different players come in from different angles on the garage to apply that pressure. And that's very similar to what we saw them apply onto, let's say, Cameraman in the previous round up in construction. It's something that INTZ are actually utilizing pretty well, is this ability and willingness to send a number of people in to specifically target one person. And you might think, well, that's a lot of manpower to invest into one thing, but if the objective works and you actually take control of a place that you really need, then I would say that it's worth it. And it was certainly worth it in that last round. They could bring in the smokes, have a go at the smoke plant, and the positions that FaZe were in themselves were very, very difficult to push up. You either get aggressive and try and take those lines of sight for yourself, which is what we saw Astro try and do, and he was completely wiped out as a result, or you're sort of stuck like Cameraman was. He was at the top of red stairs, and he had a shield for safety, but if your shield is not being aggressed upon, then, you know, it's not really doing much for you, and at some point you have to push forward because there's a plant going down. All in all, a really good round from INTZ, and FaZe Clan are going to have to be very aware of the fact that they're willing to gang up on their players to bring them down one by one.
Can INTZ do it again? If they get 3 rounds here, that will be a very nice attacking half, and it wouldn't even be over yet. There's potential for INTZ to do exceptionally well here. Attacking rounds aren't the easiest to come by on Clubhouse, but they are doing a fine job. Can they make it 2 in a row? Lineups have changed as Astro this time has brought Echo and those yokai drones, just trying to maybe give a bit more info to Souls, who's still playing on this garage rafter. He wasn't dealt with until much later on in the previous round, so unlikely he's going to see all too much pressure all too quickly. The breach is being focused on with no bandit. This time the breach gets open much quicker, around 50 seconds quicker than previously, but that's intentional from FaZe. They've let that happen because Astro, he's gathering intel.
Now, did they see the yokai drone was there? It looked like it was in their direct line of sight, and they might have spotted it, but I don't entirely know. Either way, Astro and Cameraman both received quite a hefty chunk of damage. Souls can hold on to this angle through the soft wall in the garage as he knows those players from INTZ right outside the breach. And so far, he's not being pressured from outside. He does get a kill, but not before Drunks did, but he makes that too, and that's the diffuser down cold. A C4 on top of it as well, and this is FaZe Clan saying, no, I'm sorry, but we're getting our revenge. A 2 versus 2, this is left in, and INTZ are going to have to recollect that diffuser if they want to make the plant at all. A DBNO for Drunks leaves just Hornetown on his own, and and FaZe Clan are completely free to push up onto him. They're just holding on to the server part of the site right now, and Hornetown's trying to make his rotate around, maybe catch someone out through the soft wall, but so far finding nobody. They're right on that default plant spot. He's going to remove the Melusi Banshee with his Ash Breach charge, but it does give information about his location away. Opening up the garage rotate 2. Still looking for a kill. He needs to get both of them. He has 30 seconds to do it, but no time once he's dead. FaZe Clan get their revenge from the previous round and even up the scoreline once again.
Such a nice adaptation from FaZe there to bring the Yokai drone and just have that extra piece of information. And then INTZ, you've got to question it. Why did they just flood and rush through the breach? We spoke about how that isn't usually a doorway or an access point that people use, and they were just determined to make liars of us, Gio. They were all flooding on through it, getting caught in the crossfire, getting pinged out on the Yokai, and, of course, getting stunned on it as well. Bit of a lackluster round there from INTZ. There was a chance and a hope when the push was coming through the other side from Hornetown and Drunks, but we all saw how that ended. FaZe have leveled things up now. Now they can take us up to bedroom and gym as they look to continue here. It certainly hasn't been plain sailing for them. I think they're probably going to be feeling that somewhat, and I would seriously expect a much more serious FaZe to come out from here on out, because while it's all fun and games for them, you know, picking Tachanka and losing a couple of rounds, they don't want to lose out on that top spot.
Absolutely not. I really don't want INTZ to start losing sight of the multi-dimensionality that they need to be approaching this from. The big problem in that last round is that they completely forewent taking any control of the garage rafters, which is what really led them to their win in the previous round. They didn't bring a Capitan, which, okay, fair enough. Maybe you're expecting a 6-pick onto a Wamai or a change in strategy from FaZe Clan that would suddenly mean that your Capitan is directly countered. I understand that, maybe, but they still have to try and take control of that part of the site, or that part of the map, rather, because it affords you the crossfires and the multiple directions that you need. When they're attacking here onto Gym, I want to see them going in for those multiple directions still. You can't have everybody going in through the Jacuzzi breach, which would be the direct equivalent of what we saw in that last round. You need people coming in from the east, maybe someone pressuring onto logistics at the same time. That's really important.
Some of these Maverick holes are a little bit strange as well. Like, you just seem to be begging for an impact grenade to be thrown out of that and for your exothermic to just get destroyed. It sounds, as though that jacuzzi wall has just been opened, as we could hear the fuse and the eventual boom as the wall has been breached. Bathroom being breached as well, with Astro playing behind it on the mute, of course, gives him the opportunity for a nice C4 toss through. Seems as though Vitz is going to be fairly quick movements here, as pressure now going to go over toward the CCTV side of things. So with the jacuzzi opened, it is now time to try and take a little bit of control of this side of the map so that you can play on the balcony. Of course, the windows that can peek onto the balcony from CCTV are just so powerful that you need full control of that, and that's demonstrated here in just how much INTZ are looking at trying to take it. Now, there's a lot of drone work going on here, and I believe my feeder is at least frozen. Hornetown with a bit of a swing there, because I believe the lag is on the observer side of things. It doesn't seem to be debilitating these players in any which way, as 2 kills fly in from either side. Duds has been revived in the process. All things fairly equal at this moment.
The fact that INTZ sent 4 people around to the server side is actually really consistent with the playstyle they've exhibited so far in their willingness to donate many men to a certain pinch, and Vitz finding another kill onto Astro is just going to confirm that further. INTZ still need to push through to the other side of the map, however. You have this presence from Souls in Master on the Maestro. That means there'll be Evil Eyes as well that will require clearing. Cameraman playing quite aggressively on the jacuzzi wall as well, just waiting for someone to come round that direction, while Souls can just take refuge in the bathroom, as I don't believe the bathroom wall has been opened by INTZ. That gives Souls actually quite an advantageous position and a good spot. Bullet's getting ready to throw up a C4 into the hatch of construction, but Duds isn't close enough for it to really risk him. Oh, but as I say that, I'm completely wrong. Duds taken straight out, and Hornetown as well. Miranda's gonna go in for the plant as an attempt, but look at this. Souls is just clearing up, and FaZe Clan take round number 5.
The Alder proving its worth once again from inside of that bathroom area. It was never an area that we saw INTZ dealing with. And if you leave somebody like Souls in that kind of a position, it's going to spell disaster. And that's exactly what it did spell. Cyber still having a little bit of an off day, but it isn't putting FaZe off. They are getting performances out of players like Souls as he puts in a pretty big shift there in that round. We see now the 6th and final site. Church and Arsenal, a site that we saw INTZ successfully attack in round number 1. Cyber going for the Tachanka again, leading us to believe that it was more of an intentional pick rather than a bit of a meme. But I do fear that if FaZe choose to attack this in a similar way, then, you know, we're going to see a similar result, because INTZ were very good, and provided that those opening kills go in their direction, I don't see any reason why they're going to struggle here.
Yeah, I'm actually really intrigued how this is going to go, because either way, you end at a 4-2 split for the defenders, which is still, you know, standard and acceptable on Clubhouse, or you end on a 3-3 split, which is good for INTZ. And you can kind of include it in the bubble of standard and acceptable as time has gone on this map. So one way or another, it's not bad for INTZ. And that is going to be quite interesting when we move into the next half and see how things change when they're on the defense. Now, you can already straight up tell that INTZ are going for something different. They've decided not to bring the thermite this time, so you won't be relying on the exothermic charges. And I, as a direct result, would be very surprised if they went for the blue push in the same way that they did before. They've also decided to bring a Twitch. Now, she's predominantly useful for removing utility that can be scattered around the map. I'm wondering if they're going to commit to dealing with all the castle barricades, or if they're going to be able to clear the roam quite quickly, similarly to how they did before. And if they can't achieve that, what is that going to say about their late round push?
Players from INTZ seem to be circling now on that middle floor. There's last second reinforcements going up from Astro. A little bit of position swapping here from FaZe, but they're not getting pressured immediately onto this basement level, and nor would we really expect to see that. Cyber once again on the Tachanka, just having a quick flick through the cams. Question is, what are INTZ doing at this moment in time? We need to know exactly where this push is materializing from. It sounds as though that was maybe Kitchen Hatch. Nope, Kitchen Hatch is still solid there, as it was in fact Bar Hatch that got opened. As Vitz is maybe getting tempted for a drop.
I was curious as to whether they were going to go for the Kitchen Hatch, given that they've chosen to bring an ace this time instead, and he's a lot better equipped to do the kind of long-range hatch opening from the window rappel, which you typically see on that hatch. But as you say, so far that's not been opened. Duds is already down here in blue, and he has relative impunity just because of all those reinforcements, but all of that still needs to be opened, including the castle barricade, so it's been completely cordoned off. There is the blue wall starting to be opened by the ace. That's where the Selmas are going to be. It looks like they're just getting ready to make a push as that gets on opened.
All comes down to the time here as well for INTZ. They haven't got a great deal of it. Astro going to find first blood over onto Drunks. A large part of the pushing power gone, because Drunks was trying to come down from that main stairs area, and no, we see stacking up on a single doorway. It usually ends one way. Hornetow's making it work, however, as he aggressively storms the site, finding all the kills he needs, and now looking to make this plan stick. Miranda gets taken down in the crossfire. Hornetow goes massive! Look at those last 2 kills coming in on just 1 second remaining. What a push from that man!
4 kills for Hornetown in that round. Wow. I mean, as soon as they opened up the blue wall and you could see the Tachanka fire things going through, I was thinking, yeah, I mean, look at this. FaZe Clan, they adapted. They didn't let their roam get caught out. They knew when to rotate down. And now as INTZ push in, they're at a significant disadvantage. And all of this fire is going to come through, make it really hard for them to push in. Hornetown is the new Cyber. Like, are you kidding me? That he showed up in that round. And Miranda getting another nade kill as well. And again, I just question where the utility to deal with incoming projectiles is for FaZe. You can't let something like that happen twice in a row. That's not supposed to happen, and yet it did. And now INTZ 3-3 at the half on a defender-sided map up against who is ostensibly the best team in Brazil. This is so much closer than I think any of us anticipated.
FaZe are getting stretched today. Just look across at the scoreboard while we've got the opportunity to on the left-hand side of your screen and look at the kills for FaZe. It's the first number at the top of everyone's sort of banner, if you will. So Astro's on 2. Souls is doing all right. He's on 7. We've seen 6 rounds, so more than 1 kill a round. Bullet as well, 5, nearly 1 kill a round. Cameraman, 2. Like, there's some lackluster performances from a couple of these guys over on the FaZe Clan side. And sure, they're putting the shift in elsewhere in terms of, you know, non-scoreboard contributions. But we just see such big individual performances coming out from the guys on INTZ time and time again. And you better believe that they're going to be absolutely bouncing off the walls at this point. They're going to be hyped, ready for this. I just hope that they can contain that excitement here on the defense, because defending Church and Arsenal, I daren't even say it, but it should be a round win for a defending side. It's not something we've seen FaZe do successfully, but they've been doing a little bit of something different down there. It's not the typical way to try and defend it. If INTZ go with what is a bit more typical, which it looks as though that's maybe what they're trying here, there's a chance that they're going to be able to pick up a couple of rounds here, and they might pose a significant and real threat here to FaZe.
I mean, straight up, I think that FaZe are going to be going for more vertical pressure than INTZ were when they were on the attack. You can kind of tell because they've decided to bring along a Buck. He'll be really useful for opening up the floor above the main stairs in the kitchen, for example. And that can be used to help flush out Armory. And especially if they want to be making a kitchen drop, which, you know, we're yet to see if that is going to happen, but they do have the right setup for something like that. Now, you can see in INTZ's defensive lineup, they brought, for example, Miranda is on Lesion, and that can be used against any kind of hatch drop by placing goo mines directly under, and they've brought Capcan as well. So overall, this defensive lineup has been deliberately designed to slow down any push that can be made from FaZe Clan. I think it just depends on how coordinated it's going to be. Cyber gets the opening kill, and that's onto Duds, who's been a fairly decent player for the for INTZ so far in this round, and he was one of the roamers as well. Very typically, you'll see Malusi out on a roam and elsewhere. That does mean INTZ are slightly weakened now as FaZe Clan start to make moves further into the final minute.
Bullet going to be in blue, holding on to the angle. Not looking to make any moves as of yet. Really trying to allow this site to live up to its reputation. A bloodbath in the final 20 seconds. Well, that's what we saw when INTZ attacked onto it. The blood was being drawn from FaZe. Now, can FaZe draw the blood in this instance? They have a man advantage, so by all accounts, they have all the advantage that is necessary. I do just worry a little bit about their control. Bullet's desperate to open up that wall and to try and challenge onto the player, and he's going to do just exactly that and find himself the kill onto Hornetown, the man of the moment after the previous round. Kills do continue to flood on through. Miranda now left in an unfortunate situation. Effectively 1 versus 2 as the plank goes down, but it isn't going to matter. Cyber and Bullet pick up the last 2. As Bullet there had a nice little push in from blue and was hardly dealt with at all. FaZe draw blood first here on attack, and for the first time in what seems like a while, it seems as though they might have a bit of a lead.
I think one of the really key things that FaZe Clan did there that INTZ didn't when they were on the attack is setting up those crossfires at the end, because they had control of the multiple angles. And part of that does come down to simply the way that INTZ set up their defense, because FaZe Clan's defense was so heavily reinforcing off blue, giving up that space really early. It meant that there had to be a lot of attention paid there from INTZ, because they needed to open up that to move onto the site at all. Whereas INTZ did a lot more of a standard kind of defensive setup, which meant that FaZe Clan could afford to have more people spread out in various areas of the map, and that just naturally means that you have access to those crossfires later on, at least assuming that you have more people alive, which of course they did. So difficult situation in the end there for Miranda. Not really her fault, but it happens. And INTZ are going to have to, of course, win this next round if they're to even the scoreline up again. FaZe Clan just taking the lead for the second time. I think round 5 was the first time that they took the lead in this round, but it could end up being constant backwards and forwards with these two teams.
Quite possibly could, and that's worrying if you're, playing on the side of FaZe, because if there was one game that you would put money on to say that this isn't going to be close, then this one would have been it. And it's turning out to be, for all accounts up until this point, a little bit of a barn burner, which I think surpasses everyone's expectations for what we were going to see here. Now, the question is, how do FaZe try and turn things around? Is this shift going to be enough of a mental reset? And it kind of looks like it might be. Dunks has found himself taken out there, first blooded by Bullet. FaZe doing more typical things here, using Maverick to open up this east wall as opposed to trying to get that job done with the Thermite as well. And Cybergun was a nice display of how that's done. It really isn't easy to do. Stro's got himself a nice line of sight and potential access through the Jacuzzi side as well. Miranda going to get taken out there. Souls with the drop. I believe into logistics. He's going to find that kill.
That was very aggressive defensive positioning as well from Miranda. It's not super common that you see players just stand in the middle of construction like that. Sometimes you'll see a roam further out towards Jacuzzi, towards the master area. But it was just very uncomfortable positioning from her, because it meant that she was quite exposed. And even though they had the lines of sight opened up into logistics, it works the other way as well. And if someone's going to make the drop and it sort of takes you by surprise, you can just as easily be made vulnerable. It means now that INTZ are going to have that, or need that extra attention paid out towards that side of the map, because they have fewer people to do it. But Vitz is just going to be taken straight down from Cyber, who just walks up through the rotator, the top of red. Souls is completely free to make a plant, pretty much, although actually he's going to move because he knows that Hornetown is down below, doing it on top of the desk instead as the kills go back and forth around him. Hornetown all on his own down below. He gets 1 kill. And now it's the post plant, and he's got to figure out what the next move to do is.
Hornets out at this moment in time. It honestly looks as though the next move could be GG next, as he has got all of his utility, but just wasn't given any space to use it within. Bullet's going to find that last kill pretty predictably. As you can see, he had a Z ping. This is the whereabouts of the player. Little cheeky wallbang coming on through. FaZe just picking off INTZ one at a time there. INTZ never really being given a chance to show us what they wanted to do on that defense.
INTZ seriously lacked control in very important places after they lost those first 2 players. Notably, construction didn't have anyone, holding it after Miranda went down. But I think that push from Cyber through top red was incredibly egregious. You need someone controlling that area. And Vitz was kind of all on his own in cash, desperately trying to hold it. He knew that there was a player in server who could have pushed through. He was trying to watch different angles. And meanwhile, no one is there protecting the area behind him, which means anyone who just wants to come up those red stairs can do so freely. And that it basically donated Cyber the kill as, a little charitable gift. At that point, FaZe Clan just have total free reign to take utter control, to make the plant. Yes, Souls had to shift about a little bit while he was making the plant because they knew that Hornetown was down below. And in that situation, because Hornetown was playing smoke, you don't need to worry about a C4, but he is still carrying a shotgun. So that's why he made the shift. They had plenty of time to do it in. They didn't have to worry about pressure coming in from anywhere else. And then yeah, Hornetower got 1 kill downstairs, but ultimately there's really, really very little that he can do in that situation. So just poor control by INTZ of the site overall, and FaZe Clan exploited it.
Ooh. Bullet maybe not happy with Cyber's performance. He gets taken out there as first. But it seems to be a common theme. I can't remember the match. I just remember Azafia dying early on. Azafia getting the team kill early on here on Clubhouse a couple of weeks ago. But Astro going to respond, taking down Drunks. INTZ really not having much fortune in this opening engagement now that they're on the defense. I just get the feeling that FaZe are catching them out a little bit too often. Souls has already got quite a bit open there. I believe Kitchen got open pretty much for free, which is quite a large portion of your control to lose, as it just removes the ability as a defender to play safely inside of that Arsenal area. Goods has some intel as to a player that's going to be inside of Garage. That player is going to be Bullet, and that player is going to be dead as his head gets removed. There was a Claymore placed on Oil Pit, but I doubt anyone on the side of INTZ is going to be too concerned about that just as of yet. Cameraman now looking to make a bit of an approach down Dirt.
It doesn't look like... Ooh, that's such a nice kill as well. I was going to say it doesn't look like anyone's watching Dirt. And then the goo mine gave Cameraman's location away, but it didn't actually seem to matter. Miranda's reaction was a bit slow. He got the nice kill in for free. And this is actually really good for FaZe Clan, because when they lost the Maverick, they had to use the Selma to open up Dirt. It meant that they were so lacking for the hard breach because of losing that Maverick. But they've made it work for themselves just because of some of this lack of vigilance coming out from INTZ. That's mistakes that can be capitalized on by teams that are further up than you and that are better performing than you. It's often small things like that that actually, you know, determine who is better and who is worse.
How has Astro got himself here? As he dropped the hatch, Ashrush isn't even open. He's literally just inside a B site looking to try and get kills and waiting for INTZ to look for a retake. Now the diffuser's in the hands of Souls. Astro's been playing there for far too long. Hornetower eventually gets wind that that is where he is, and we'll just look to try and take him out. Cameraman's all the way on the top floor as there's been some questionable rotates here on the side of FaZe. Souls holds the diffuser. 30 seconds do remain. Cameraman's been crouch walking and slow walking all the way down these main stairs, but it isn't going to matter. The turn and burn from Hornetower sees him taken down. Souls desperately drops into sight, but for what? He runs straight into the Mozzie, and that is going to be around going toward INTZ. We're getting a bit of a back and forth here, Gio.
I'm glad to see it. I didn't want to see the half come around and suddenly one of the teams tear away. I'm enjoying the scrap and the fight going on between them. I think it was kind of strange from FaZe Clan in that last round, because for so much of it looked like it was massively in their favor. But I think they didn't necessarily expect to find themselves taking control of certain parts of the map so easily. And it meant that they were all in different places and different parts of their push, and so they kind of fell out of coordination of each other. And INTZ, the remaining members of which were all kind of together, and they could take advantage of some of that and some of that slightly separated positioning that FaZe had found themselves in. I mean, if Astro had been carrying the diffuser, then his drop down into Armory maybe would have brought a lot more value, but as you kind of mentioned, you were like, well, what's Astro doing here? And he was sort of pacing backwards and forwards for a little bit, not entirely sure what he was doing there. So maybe not the best from FaZe, and it's nice to see that INTZ could get a one-up on them in that round. But now returning back to CCTV, this was a site that FaZe Clan not only won, but they planted in, took very swift control. A few mistakes from INTZ based on positioning and not necessarily holding on to certain important parts of the map. I really want to see improvements on that here, because they were quite simple mistakes that I think could be avoided in this next round.
We'll have to see how INTZ choose to correct these mistakes. I think one of the biggest ones that I'd like to see them sort out is this opening death, because it does seem to be costing them regularly, but they're still able to pick up the odd round here and there. So imagine what they'd be able to do if that wasn't a factor, if they were able to keep themselves alive and get a nice opener, it could stand them in a pretty good stead. Now, of course, the FaZe are attacking onto CCTV. Already we've got construction open. Astro looking to earn some more utility, or maybe even get the wall open there in through toward logistics area. As the garage wall has been opened as well, and they seem to be in decent control here.
Yeah, out come the toxic babe canisters, which will deter them from pushing up too close to the wall, but having control of this does stop those rotations. Also opening up the logistics wall. Logistics was a really important position for FaZe last time. Bullet could find himself getting punished here, but actually it'll be Souls and Astro. There we go. Finally, Bullet goes down. INTZ just completely chewing FaZe Clan alive. Once again, they also didn't go for the garage rafters control. We still have presence from INTZ over there. Cameraman's trying to play more tentative. Notice, of course, that you do have the defender at the top of red, as well as one in cash with him as well. Hornetown gets that kill, and it leaves just Cyber on his own. Knows there's someone just downstairs, catches Drunks out, and now it's a 1 versus 2.
Cyber yay or Cyber nay. He hasn't got a great deal of health. He has got the diffuser, but only a breath of Toxic Babe smoke, and he will be out of action. Hornetown, you can see, primed and ready to start tossing those on out. Gets an important down over onto Hornetown, but no, goes for the cross. Doesn't have the intel. Easy kill for Vitz there. Didn't even need a headshot in that one, but he got one anyway. INTZ level things up.
Do you know what I love about that? I love that in round 8, my biggest criticism was that INTZ relinquished control of top red. And then it was the fact that they maintained control of top red in this round that secured them the round win. You love to see it. No, that was really good from INTZ as well. But I think that there were some just slightly cut corners from FaZe Clan that really cost them in that round. I mean, as soon as Bullet started peeking in through the breach, I was thinking, there's still a player on garage rafters who's going to have a direct line of sight onto you. What are you doing? You're trying to creep around so that you can peek in towards top red, but no one is behind to put pressure on the guy in rafters. And even though we saw Cyber up on rafters right at the end of the round, it was just way too late to have control of that part of the map. It was very strange, I think, from FaZe Clan. A bit of a mess. And the fact that INTZ collapsed straight in on them and got, I don't know, what was it? Something like 3 kills? 4 kills in a really short space of time? It was just the kill feed lighting up orange. FaZe Clan kind of deserved that. I'm not going to lie. It was just the cut corners were a bit messy.
What if, just for a moment,
Okay.
what if INTZ win this game? It is not beyond the realm of possibility.
You're very right.
Like, they're on defense on Clubhouse. They've been playing really well. Like, these guys are playing incredibly well. We might even have, I mean, we got the interview with INTZ yesterday despite the loss, but we might have the interview with INTZ here today after a win. Like, that's just going to be electric. We've got to get there first, and FaZe are standing in their way. But for my money, there is no clear winner here between these two teams. They are both deserved of 3 points, and I wouldn't be surprised with either outcome at this point. We haven't seen the best of FaZe, certainly compared to what we have seen from them throughout this stage. And with the way that INTZ are going, if they continue, I think this round's a big one. I always think round 11's a big one. Get yourself onto that, especially when it's 5-5. Get yourself onto that match point and just watch the momentum gather for the team. FaZe so far moving fairly slowly. We've not seen any early engagements. Both teams recognizing how much importance there is on this round. Jacuzzi's been opened, albeit a little bit messily, but the job has been done nonetheless. Astro conscious of a bit of a cheeky run out from Dirt. No control yet, though, Gio, has been gained of the all-important cash area.
Yeah, it doesn't actually look like FaZe Clan is sending anyone round to the server wall to open it. Instead, Cyber's going to be heading his focus here on the construction wall. They know that there are players over in that area. It's just not necessarily the most standard way of approaching it. And I worry for FaZe Clan that that could make it quite difficult for them to clear out that part of the map. After all, we are under halfway, or I should say over halfway, through the round. So there's still a decent, limited time that they have remaining. They will probably want to open the bathroom wall, I would imagine. Otherwise, that's going to provide INTZ a lot of control over Master, which they're gonna, keep. Bullets getting a kill onto Duds with a Claymore. That's certainly an interesting way to start things off, and FaZe Clan are just gonna rush in.
Ooh, the aggressive push there. Vitz is going to shut him down in his tracks as kills continue to come up for INTZ. Miranda taking out Souls there from inside of the bathroom. Astro with a swing. 1 versus 2. Astro's got a lot of work to do here. The diffuser cold inside of Jim. Do the players of INTZ know where this diffuser is? Astro, it's arguably too late to be hopping on into the drone now, as there isn't a lot of info to be gathered. You've got to move, and you've got to move quickly, as there are only 20 seconds left remaining. Hornet and Miranda both sitting at full health. The Goyo shield has been popped. A slow peek coming in here from Astro. It's a pretty good bet that someone's playing inside of the showers, and he would be right. That's someone's Miranda, and that puts INTZ onto a match point.
This is a very, very exciting point of the game for INTZ. They don't have any points on the board right now in the BR6. If you guys are new and you haven't been following along with the season so far, INTZ have 0 points. FaZe Clan right now are the best team in Brazil. They're sat in first place. Team Liquid are right on their heels, and it is a battle between the two of them to see who is going to get that #1 spot. And right now, FaZe Clan are at a huge risk of losing it. I think there were definitely issues from FaZe Clan in that last round. They didn't definitively make any kind of a push onto server. They also didn't make an attempt to open up the bathroom wall. That gave Miranda so much free reign to be safe and have control in Master. Even if that rush was caught out a couple of kills at first, even if they had come in from the other side, if you don't have the bathroom wall open, Master is a really difficult place for attackers to gain control. They didn't have anyone providing much pressure onto logistics. I think Cameraman was up on the roof quite early, but I don't think he was there for ages, and at the very least he wasn't there enough to clear out logistics, because that's where that first kill from the rush went onto FaZe Clan when they made it. Overall, FaZe Clan just didn't do a substantial attack in that last round, and they paid for it. And now INTZ sat on match point, game point, against the best team in this region. And that's so exciting.
I mean, at what point are FaZe the best team in the region? Like, you're surely only as good as your last game, right? Like, I'm not going to come out here and start saying that INTZ the best team in the region, but they are surely in a position where they could beat the current top team in our standings. And guess what? They've got the best site in the world to try it on, Church and Arsenal. It's a site that we always talk about for being a little bit defender favoured. And this is where their opportunity will lie. Now, this round isn't sort of do or die. There will be an overtime after this round. We don't have draws here in BR6. So there's even if INTZ do lose this round, there is still potential. But for me and my thoughts on it are, you want to try and get it done as soon as possible. Give FaZe as fewer chances to come back and really start to try and punish them. FaZe are moving quite slowly. They're going for a full roam clear. They're not leaving anything here to chance. And I guess the only problem with doing that is they run the risk of doing what they have done previously, and that is run out of time.
Well, they're going to need a full roam clear, I think, because when you have a look at the fact that there's a Mozzie out, there's a Malusi out, these are players that will need clearing. And I think the wasting of time will be really valuable for INTZ as well. Don't forget, as well, that back on round number 9, it was a 2 versus 2 at the end. FaZe Clan have made their way into the site pretty quickly. INTZ still wanted out. So even if a couple of those players are lost on the roam, that doesn't guarantee anything. It does look like most of them, as far as I can tell, have returned back to the site, if not all. Cameraman just narrowly missing one of those Mozzie pests to drone down the stairs. And FaZe Clan, who lost their Maverick quite early last time, will be working on the hatches.
Side of they're going to be opening up that bar hatch, as it is an important drop, an important point of ingress for these attackers. You can almost feel the tensions here on the side of FaZe, and well, INTZ, they're not looking at trying to challenge anything just yet. They know they've got a ton of stuff that they can rely on. They've got C4s, they've got impact grenades, they've got Toxic Babe canisters, of which one of them is going to get used quite quickly here as the drones start to come in, as FaZe start to gather their last few pieces of information before being forced by the time to make an inevitable rush. The rush will come through Ash Spot. Hornetow opens things up with a kill onto Cameraman, and Souls has been downed with the diffuser. Astro, he's trying to fill the gap. Bullets fighting as well. He takes down Miranda. Astro looking to try and confirm this plant. It could be the only chance that FaZe have here, but look at the kills. They're all coming up. INTZ, Astro, he has confirmed that diffuser, but he's been downed in the process. INTZ have done it. They have got their first 3 points, and it was against FaZe.
No longer can you call this the David and Goliath story now that INTZ have turned things around. They really destroyed the Titans here in Brazil, taking 3 points, their 3 very first points in the BR6 2021 season against the team that strikes fear into the hearts of all of their opponents. And INTZ looked straight in at them and they said, not today. What a fantastic and most unexpected game to have here in LATAM. INTZ have done it.